Hello and welcome to Building the Premier Accounting Firm. I'm your host, Roger Knecht, president of Universal Accounting Center. For more than 3 decades, well, nearly 3 decades, I should say right now, I've been working with accounting professionals to help them both start and build successful accounting, bookkeeping, and tax businesses. It's here on the show that we actually bring on the experts to share with us insights on what it is we can be doing to work on our businesses and, more importantly, build the premier accounting firm in our area. It's in doing so that we're actually addressing topics ranging from marketing, selling, pricing, tech stacks. We're looking at how to train our staff, how to onboard clients, retain clients, mental health, and so many more things. It's here that we're actually going to talk about what it is that's practically needed to work on our businesses to get paid what we're worth. So here today, I have Josh Davis. Josh happens to be an award-winning entrepreneur, business acquirer, and operator. Both him and his wife, they founded a company a week after their honeymoon and scaled it rapidly and then exited 3 years later to a private equity-backed buyer. Now today, Josh actually runs JL Davis Enterprises, a purpose-driven, family-focused business that does acquisitions, consulting, and building high-performance teams. Through his brand, Scaling with Josh Davis, he shares real-world framework and not theory for founders who want to grow, scale, and exit their businesses right away. So Josh, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, Roger. Pleasure to be here.
This is going to be a great discussion. You know, one of the things that I really enjoy is from an accounting perspective, we've got a lot of things that we're doing with businesses to help them run day to day. That's one of the things we're focused on. We're planning for the future. We're getting things organized, but you're looking at businesses a little differently. You're obviously helping them from an investment point of view, but also from a business consulting point of view. And I want to tackle both of those. But I'm going to go back to the beginning though, with you and your wife. You built a company, you sold it. Tell us about selling the business in the sense that, you know, what did you experience in that process that caused you to say, you know, this is something we want to get into and do with other companies?
Oh, that's a pretty loaded question.
When I've thought this through. Yeah.
Yeah, that was there's so much to that, but I'll try to frame it. Yeah, I mean, like you said, we started the business a week after our honeymoon. When we originally started it, we had one other partner as well, and we did talk about exiting one day and building it to sell, and reading books like Built to Sell and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
So we planned, you know, originally we thought, hey, we'll build this thing up and we'll exit it. But funny enough, you know, getting into it, 2 years building and scaling, you know, we were one of the fastest growing logistics companies in Canada. We kind of forgot about the sale part of it because we were having so much fun building and growing the business. But one thing that changed for us, and my wife was very active in the business and on the operations side and the system side, and she built in-house technology for us, which really helped us scale. She got pregnant with our first child. So that was kind of my reminder when we're driving into work. She said, hey, hon, just one other thing. As I've been thinking about this, when we have our baby, I don't know if I want to do this 24/7 kind of 365 business operations anymore. So that was kind of the reminder that we did plan to potentially sell the business one day. And so even though I didn't necessarily want to sell at that point, that kind of snowballed us into thinking like, what are we really going to do with this business? It was really, you know, rapidly growing and scaling. We didn't have outside investment. We were bank leveraged and we had everything we had into the business. And so that kind of catapulted our journey to looking for a potential either investment partner or an exit.
Interesting. So I'm curious, when you shared that story of her saying this isn't something she wanted to do because she was now pregnant, was that how she told you she was pregnant? Or did you already know in that conversation?
No, I already knew.
Yeah. All right. It almost sounded as if that's how she told you. So that's kind of funny. And by the way, she didn't just get pregnant. You got her pregnant. So it's a mutual thing. So one of the things I want to kind of chime in on this is, was it a favorable experience, that whole transition of selling the business? And if so, was that the catalyst as to why you got into the business side of the, you know, acquisitions and so forth? Or was it an unfavorable experience and you figured out this is something you could do differently or better for others?
Okay. Yeah. So I'd say the process of selling the business was quite difficult. You know, when you build something up from the ground up and you put everything into it, it's a challenging thing to go through and, you know, go to market and meeting with all of these groups of companies and you know, we were meeting with private equity and strategics. And so going through that process, it was challenging because at the same time, you're trying to grow and scale the business and keep the operations going, and then you're trying to go through due diligence process and find the right buyers. So I think that's pretty common in most deals. But as far as your question of if that's why I got into doing what I'm doing now, not necessarily. I was doing
Okay.
acquisitions previously to going into this business, and even when we scaled the logistics side, we did a number of acquisitions. That was kind of our strategy as well.
Uh-huh.
So basically, through the exit process, I ended up working with the private equity firm for 2 years during the transition. They ended up eventually packaging it up and selling the business with their group of companies. And at that point, that's when I was like, do I want to be an executive in a large corporate entity, or do I want to get back into doing acquisitions and working in small business? And that's the decision that I ended up making.
I like it. Well, here's a few things that I'm going to go into. The first question is, we're obviously accounting professionals, so we want to ask the question of, how did the accounting impact the valuation of the business that you had, and how valuable was accounting to you both before and after that experience?
Okay, so the honest truth
Oh
was,
yes, honest,
yeah,
honest.
because we were like, to be honest with you, Roger, we were like, you know, we're operators, we're salespeople, we're
Yeah,
acquisitions, and we, as we were scaling the business, we weren't really we didn't have a CFO. We did have an internal bookkeeper, and then obviously we had an external accounting firm. And
yeah.
our kind of method, I mean, a lot's changed since, but was basically revenue will solve most problems. Just keep growing the business, and everything will kind of work out from there. Um, so that was one of the challenges I think through the exit process, was cleaning up the financials and making sure we understood, the normalized EBITDA and all of that.
Uh-huh.
So I think that part of the process was something I learned greatly in my next venture after exiting that company, was making sure everything was streamlined. You had clear metrics and financials and normalized EBITDA. But yeah, I'd say, as we were building and scaling the business, we were just focused on growing it as fast as we could. And we didn't have all of our kind of ducks in a row on the financial side. But I think that would have made the due diligence process go a lot smoother if we did.
I appreciate your honesty. Thank you for sharing that, because I think that perspective is so helpful, especially having gone through the experience personally. So the question I now have is, you brought up these metrics. You just mentioned a few that are very important. So clearly you see value in them. How important is the accounting as it relates to the valuation of a business?
It's so important. Like even now with I've been doing I stepped down as CEO about 3.5 years ago. I mean, most of the deals that we're doing, it ends up getting killed because of having messy financials and not having, clear numbers and things mixed in. If there's real estate and holding companies, and, going through that process makes it very challenging to, figure out what the valuation is. So, yeah, I would say, now as we're building and scaling and doing acquisitions, it's so important to make sure that you have clean numbers. You know what your normalized EBITDA is. You're tracking things properly. You've got you're measuring your numbers monthly, weekly, to make sure that things are on track and you know where things are at. And so yeah, originally I didn't I mean, I knew it was valuable, but until exiting and then really getting serious about acquisitions, now I'm a huge proponent for that. I have a CFO. I get my weekly and monthly reports. We have monthly meetings. We make sure everything's in line. We're measuring EBITDA. It's very key to my business now.
That's music to my ears, by the way. I really appreciate the fact that you see the value in the numbers now. That's beautiful. So I'm going to ask a few questions here. One is regarding those metrics, those numbers. What are the numbers that matter most to you? What do you think really matter to not only the business as it runs itself, but also from an outside perspective, someone looking in, a banker, an investor? What are the numbers that you feel are valuable for us to actually be able to report on?
Yeah, I mean, for our businesses, it's always like gross profit, so revenue minus costs, and then the gross profit. Then we
Okay.
obviously measure the overhead as well. So in our business, when we do acquisitions, we consolidate, the accounting, the customer service, the sales. So really making sure that we've got our metrics and gear on the overhead and the overhead costs and running the business side. And then for us, it's EBITDA. So EBITDA is our big metric that we're all of our profit share structures of the key team members is all based on the growth of the EBITDA.
Excellent. And with EBITDA, I understand there are thresholds where once you get to a certain threshold, it then causes multiples to start changing. So can you speak to some of those thresholds that exist for EBITDA?
Yeah, sure. So um, depending on what industry it is, but
Mhm.
kind of
Yeah.
always our goal is to get up to that $10 million in EBITDA. That's our real, we always push as hard as we can to get to 10 million. And then when we get to that 10 million, we usually have substantial options to get, 8+ multiple, depending on the industry. If you're getting up to like the 1 to 5, I mean, I'd say the multiples, depending on the industry, could be like 4 to 6 multiple. Anything under a million in EBITDA, I mean, it can be a little bit challenging, but I mean, you can get maybe a 3 to 5 multiple depending on the industry. But any business that we're running, we're focusing on driving as fast as we can to get to 10, and that gives us lots of options. And you can get strategic investment buyers as well if you can get up to the 10.
That's beautiful. No, I appreciate that perspective. I think that's very important for us as accounting professionals to understand as we're working with our clients and obviously with our own businesses. So that's great. Now, as it relates to the consulting side of your business, so we talked about the acquisition, let's talk about the consulting. You do business consulting, you work with business owners, you help them address things in their business as it relates to helping increase value and so forth. What are some of those key things that you focus on that you feel are sometimes not addressed, sometimes just kind of left alone, but should be addressed and given given more attention, let's say?
Okay, so besides the finance side,
Yeah.
that's very very important, and that's why I've got my CFO who goes in and makes sure cleaning up all the financials and making sure things are set there. The other big thing besides having clean numbers and financials, we always look at the people side of the business. So in any business, especially if you're looking to sell, it's really important that things don't rely so heavily just on the founder. So before getting the business to sell or scale, we always look at the people. So making sure you have the right people in the right seats, making sure that it's the founder isn't in all the weeds and all the sales and all the operational side. So making sure they've got a good structure set up on the people side. So that's always the first thing that we help organizations with, whether it's an acquisition we do or an investment we do, or if we're consulting. The next piece that we help on is on the systems. So in our business that my wife and I grew and scaled, we built our own in-house technology, and my wife got really involved in how you can put technology together and talk to each other and how important it is to scale the business. So we do have a technology side of our business that can go in and look at your tech stack, build certain APIs, making sure it's connecting with your accounting software, your QuickBooks, your CRM, making sure things are talking to each other so you can get efficiencies and metrics. So people systems, and then obviously performance. I think a big reason why we've been able to scale our businesses is designing comp structures that help people perform and think like owners. So different commission structures or profit share structures. So we look at that, making sure that you're aligning performance to the growth of the business. So those are really the three key areas that we focus on when we're going into consult: people, systems, performance.
I like that because one of the things that I think we get hung up on in the accounting world is we look at our client list. We're looking at, okay, who are our customers?
Yeah.
And we're thinking of selling the list. How valuable is the list? But it really comes down to the people, the processes, and the performance. So I do appreciate the fact that you're bringing some other perspective as to how to value a business. And at the beginning, you brought up Built to Sell by John Warlow.
Yeah.
Built to Sell is a phenomenal book. He speaks of 8 drivers in there that determine the value of a business. Those things are essential for a business owner to work on, especially when you're coming at it from the point of view of I'm building the business to intentionally sell it, because that's how it's going to be evaluated. So
Yeah.
I love where we're going with this conversation. Get your free copy of the book In the Black, 9 Principles to Make Your Business Profitable. This is a how-to guide for accounting professionals to work with their clients and actually implement proven processes and systems to ensure that their clients make profit a priority. It is in this book you'll actually learn how to map the business and, in fact, make marketing, accounting, and production a priority within your client's business. You also learn the wisdom pyramid, how to actually take the information you're providing to your clients and effectively use it so that they can make more informed business decisions. This book is designed to help you communicate more effectively with your clients and, in fact, have them see you as their profit and growth expert. Get your free copy now of the ebook today, In the Black, 9 Principles to Make Your Business Profitable. One of the things I want to then kind of circle back to, you spoke of this earlier, but I know this is something that you have an opinion on. Stepping down as CEO, exiting the business, that can be for a lot of people something that is very much a difficult transition. And I was just curious, how was it for you as you kind of stepped out of that role and, more importantly, saw yourself no longer in that capacity?
Oh man, that's another loaded question.
I've got good ones.
You do, Roger. It's really interesting. Like, and I've talked about this before. Especially I work with the strategic private equity group for 2 years. So during that, I was still CEO and I was running as a separate division. They owned, some of the largest transportation groups in North America. And then we were like obviously a smaller piece of that. For the 2 years as I was running as CEO during the transition, everything was pretty much normal. And I will say this, I really got to learn how important financials were when you have meetings monthly with a CFO who has to report to a private equity board of directors. So I really learned, budgeting and making sure that you've got clear numbers to be able to report for those meetings. So that really helped me as well. But once I actually made the decision to get ready to move on, and I was done the 2-year transition, I kind of realized if you stay on, it's kind of like, giving your baby up for adoption and living in the same house.
Yeah.
So, after, the 2-year was done, I worked with them for about 6 months and they were, trying to figure out how I was going to fit part of the executive team. And I just realized, I'm a entrepreneur. I've always been an entrepreneur, always worked in small, medium-sized businesses. And I wasn't really a corporate type guy. And once you get to that kind of level, you've got to make decisions on a whole corporate level. And it was really just about, numbers and the whole group of companies. And I just realized, that wasn't how I wanted to continue on with my career, although it was best for my business. Like, we were rapidly growing and scaling, we were flying by the seat of our pants. We didn't have outside investment. So it was the best move for the business. And it gave tons of stability and lots of opportunity for growth for the team to, work in different parts of the group of companies. And so it was great for the business. But for me personally, I knew that I needed to move on. And it was funny. Once I actually stepped down, and my emails were shut off and I was at home, with my family. We just had another baby at the time. I kind of went through this kind of process of, who am I? Like, what, where is my identity? Because, I was a CEO of a substantial business, and I had a lot of team members and a lot of emails, hundreds of emails, and, working in different deals at the time. And basically everything kind of shut down and it went quiet for me. So, for the first 6 months, I went traveling, took my family to Italy. We did, a bunch of trips. I spent a lot of time, being at all the dinners and just being a dad. And eventually my wife, after 6 months, was like, "Okay, hon, we love having you around, but I think now it's time for you to get going and do something."
Wow. I could say I've heard that so many times, almost verbatim. So what you just shared is so similar and familiar. So the question I want to ask is, as you describe this, selling the business, and it's like having an adopted baby that, having the household. I mean, all those things. How did you pull out of it? What was it, the thing that caused you after that 6 month period of time to realize, okay, clearly the wife gave you the kick in the pants of, okay, it's time to move on. How did you move on?
Yeah, funny enough, I ended up reconnecting with an old executive coach of mine.
Mm-hmm.
He was actually in retire, or he was moving on to retirement. And I reached out to him and I just said, "Hey, like, I know you're in retirement. Can I bring you on for like a full day session? And I just need some help to figure out kind of what I'm going to do next. I've had the exit, I've got the capital, I had some passive investments as well. Like I didn't necessarily need to I didn't need a job or I didn't need to be working again. But ultimately, I knew I love business. I love people. I like building and scaling, and I like operations. And so that really helped me. We basically did a full planning day, went through kind of purpose and where I saw myself in the next 20 years, and that's what really kind of built our family office and then the consulting division out of that.
I love it. That's beautiful. As accounting professionals, I think it's important that we understand this whole experience. One, because we run our own businesses. Eventually, this is going to come to us and we're going to experience it in one way or another with our own exit. But as we work with business owners and we witness our clients going through this transition, they're going to sell their businesses and they're going to lose their identity, as you shared. And they're going to experience these emotions that I think as accounting professionals, we're going to have kind of a front seat to witness and observe. And the more conscious we are of what that might look like, we might be able to better prepare them for that exit and transition. So I think what you're describing here is so helpful. So let's go back to the acquisition, the business consulting. As accounting professionals, one of the things that I'd like to just ask you is, what more could we be doing or should we be doing with our clients to help them in their businesses? What is it that we're perhaps not really performing? We're doing the bookkeeping, we're doing the tax, but where can we really step up our game as it relates to either the accounting side of things, the CFO advisory, the planning? What do you say in that regard?
Yeah, I would say one thing, like especially me, like I dropped out of university. I was going to business school, and my grandfather had cancer. That's kind of a long story. So yeah, I'm not a highly educated person. I definitely I once I eventually helped my grandfather through cancer, and he ended up passing away. I start getting business coaches and mentors and reading books and things like that. But for guys like me that are very driven entrepreneurs, we need good numbers. We need a good either bookkeeper or CFO or controller to make sure that we understand our numbers. So I think one thing that's really important is helping an entrepreneur build a proper scorecard and understanding for their business what are the numbers that they really need to measure to make sure that the business is moving in the right direction, especially if you're getting into any position where you're trying to scale the business. The more you scale, the more you need to step away from certain parts of your business. So the only way you can do that, especially for someone like me who likes to control the business and get my hands into everything, which relieved my anxiety, was working with my CFO and my accounting department to build out scorecards that I look at weekly, and then I know things are on track. So that helped me stop being a micromanager and be able to delegate, and having my CFO, my bookkeeping team help me build that has been a total game changer for me.
Love it. One of the things that I think you're really touching on there that's important is the idea of delegation, because as a founder, there's if you want it done right, you got to do it yourself kind of mentality. So, how do you actually help your clients and other business owners realize that as founders, they do need to find a way to let go? How do you address that?
Yeah, I mean, typically most founders, especially if you're in the million, scaling up to the million, maybe you're between 1 to 2 million. Um, you're typically, I see, and it happened in my own business as well, and people that we're consulting for, you kind of hit a ceiling.
Mhm.
And typically the ceiling's usually because the founder is involved in too many things. They're either too in the operations, the firefighting, the sales. And I just find that they're working so much in the business, they're not able to take a step back and work on the business. And so basically what we do, the first thing we do is kind of map out their day. So we have them kind of go through their calendar, we look through and see what they're focusing all their time on, and then we kind of rate it to see what are the things they're doing that really light them up, and what are the things that they're doing that kind of drags them down or they don't like to do. And so typically that's where we always start. And it's usually an eye-opening experience. And one of the big things we help founders do at that point is the first thing they need is an executive assistant. A lot of the time, they may have like an admin assistant, but having a real strong executive assistant that can take off those administrative tasks, the inbox, the calendar, all of that stuff, that's always the first step. And once we kind of go through that, they end up seeing that they free themselves up for capacity to start working on the business. That's usually the first step. Looking at the calendar, measuring what they're doing throughout the day, finding out the things that light them up, that drive the business forward, and then the things that don't, and then delegate those off as quickly as possible.
I like that. That's really good. I know you also speak of a clear framework for scaling. Tell me about that.
Yeah. So the framework for scaling, I mean, I touched a little bit on this earlier, but it's people, systems, performance, growth, and then something I talk about, legacy. So
Hmm.
the we talked about people, systems, performance, the growth side. I'll talk a little bit of that now. It's like, how are you going to grow and scale this business? Are you going to continue to build out systems and processes for marketing and sales? Are you going to do bolt-on acquisitions? What is your plan for growth? So we kind of help think through that. And then the last piece is the legacy piece. And this is one that I learned through that exit process in that last business was I didn't know what I was going to do next. You know, we did some we have a foundation where we help kids at risk. So I, thought that I'd get more actively involved in that. But we were young, we were in our mid 30s when we exited. My wife is a little bit younger. So that legacy piece, you're going to build this business and you're going to sell it. What are you going to do next? What's your plan? So that's a big thing for, founders is it's one thing to build and sell your business, but what are you going to do next? And so that's something that we work through a bit of a framework on that.
Interesting. Those various stages or steps that you're addressing, each one is so very important. And for a founder to actually look at each one individually, I think is very important from a consulting point of view. So I'm curious, as a consultant, what is it that you come in and actually do for the client? Because consulting implies that you're actually being paid to do a task. What are you doing for them?
Yeah, so I've got a group of companies under my JL Davis Enterprises consulting arm. So the first one's always on the people side. So I have a human capital division. It's called Talent Harbor Group. So we help with executive search, recruiting, leadership development, coaching, people strategy. So that's always kind of the first step. I can basically help them design the plan, but if they want actually help implementing and getting the right people in the right seats and developing leaders, we can help them with that. The next part is the system. So in my last business, we built our own technology company. And then when we exited, we kept the technology. So I've got a full technology division. We can build software. We help design tech stacks and research and find the best technology. So that division will come in and actually, look at your tech stack and find out what's missing and make sure everything's talking to each other. On the performance side, I've got teams that will come in and help build scorecards and structures to help your team perform. And then on the growth and legacy side, that's my wife and I. So we really get focused on helping the founders. If it's a husband and wife or whatever it is, we get involved in helping them with their strategy. What do you really want to do and grow? And then you got to realize with growth, there comes sacrifice. So how far do you actually want to grow? And then if you are going to exit, what's that legacy piece? So that's my wife and I that get really involved in that with founders.
I like that. That's that forward thinking visionary that gets to the why. I think that's all very important. I think we all have to kind of reconnect with that occasionally. So I'm interested in, from let's say, an advisor point of view, what are some of those conversations that you may be having? What does that experience look like?
Like on the advisory to the founder.
Yeah, when you're talking about the growth and their vision and what it is they're trying to build, what are some of the things that you might be asking them that are relevant to that?
Yeah, the biggest thing that I always talk about with founders is like, what is your succession plan? It's funny when you talk to founders, they think about, the exit. It depends if your kids want to inherit the business. And I always say, no matter what, whether you're going to sell the business or not, you always want to build it to sell. So
Hmm.
if you put in the right people, the right systems, and you stop working so much in the business, I mean, a lot of the times when I talk to founders and they think they want to sell, It's because they've been doing this for 20 years. They feel run down. They don't have the
Yeah.
right people in the right seats. They don't have that general manager or a COO or the right technology talking to each other, or the right scorecards. So I always say, let's take a step back. Let's make sure you got the right people, the right systems, the right procedures in place, and then we'll build the growth plan from there. So that's always where we start. And then it's funny, once that's kind of in place and they're able to step out of working in the business and work on it, sometimes they're kind of re-energized again, and they want to start scaling. They're looking at acquisitions or building sales teams and things like that. So that's usually where we start.
I like that. I have similar conversations with my clients. One of the things that I always want to focus on is what is that end game, that exit. And one of the things that's fascinating to me is when we talk about exit, so many don't have an exit. They just are working. They more or less created for themselves originally a job. They're now busy. And so they're just happy. And they're just not looking at what this is going to look like in the end. And the thing that I always point out is ideally, your business will outlast you. When you're gone, when you're no longer in the employment workforce, or when you've actually passed on, your
Yep.
company should continue to exist. So the question then is needing to be posed. You didn't create a job, you created a legacy. So
Yes.
what is that going to be in your absence? And so all of a sudden you're starting to get them to realize, oh my heavens, I'm building something that actually will outlive me. So the question now becomes, when you step out, what do you see that looking like? And initially they look at it from a financial point of view. What am I hoping I'm building that it's going to then be part of my retirement? What is that nest egg theoretically?
Yep.
So there's a conversation about financial wealth and what that might look like. But in reality, it's to your point, how is that transaction or transition going to happen? Is it a family business? Is there somebody that's going to come in from within that's going to run with this? Is it an employee business where they're going to take it and run with it? Is it somebody that's going to come in from the outside? So you start now exploring, what do those exits look like, and how are you going to work towards that so it's a favorable transition?
Totally.
So these are worthwhile conversations. And obviously, they can be kind of a one-off type of discussion. It doesn't have to be something that you dwell on for days, weeks, and months,
Yep.
but at least opening the door for a dialogue causes it to come up periodically. And they start bringing it up a little bit more frequently, because initially, when you talk to them, they're in that job mindset. I'm in a
Yep.
work mode. I just do this on a daily basis. This is what I do. So, and that's where their identity comes from, by the way, from what you were
Totally.
describing earlier. Yeah. This is a great conversation.
Learn the turnkey process for starting and building a successful accounting business. It's in this course that you'll actually experience 4 specific trainings. Part 1, your business plan, everything you need to know to get started. Part 2, how to price your services, the pros and cons of different methods and the best way to price your services that are both profitable and professional. Marketing and selling your services so that you can actually be top of mind, but more importantly, how to actually be seen as a trusted strategic advisor. And last of all, mapping it all out. 5 principles in running a profitable business so that you can be both competent and confident in the services you're providing. Learn now what it is you can be doing to start and build your own successful accounting, bookkeeping, or tax business. Go to the episode description and there get the information you need to take advantage of this today.
So let me transition here. You, your wife, you've obviously been working together quite a bit. What do you think is unique about a spousal working relationship? How do you make it work? Do you have any advice?
Oh man, I got so much advice on that. It's funny, when we first started the business, a week after our honeymoon, I've been in an entrepreneur group for about 15 years. Excuse me. And a, a couple of them said they didn't think it was a good idea for us to get married and start a business right away. So yeah, I would say the beginning of the business, it was really hard being newly married, trying to work on a relationship and then running, a very fast growing company. So everything revolved around the business, date nights. As much as we would say, we're not going to talk about business, we would be talking about business, or my phone would ring or something would happen. And so for the first year, it was very challenging. I mean, we had a lot of fun during it as well, but we were working 12, 14-hour days. And like I said, our business logistics and having warehouses and everything, it's 24/7, 365, Christmas, there was always something happening. And so one thing that we worked on intentionally, we took a step back and it was about a year into it, and we're like, the business can't revolve around everything. We got to make sure that we're planning for our family. And so that's where I actually just had a post on this on LinkedIn. I mean, people can go look at it. I've got a newsletter. So the timing's good that you asking this question. We built an annual plan. So we've been doing it every year for 10 years. It's not just about business. Yes, we've got business goals in there, but it's like, what do we want for our family? What is our goal for our family? So we have different things, spiritual, financial, health, rest, holidays, all that stuff. And then we build in that annual plan something that was kind of a game changer for us. We call it an anchor calendar. So every year in December, we pre-plan our year for all the important things that we can't miss no matter what. So no matter how busy business is, we can't miss these dates. So birthdays, anniversaries, conferences, family events. We pre-book all of our holidays. And then everything in business needs to revolve around that anchor calendar. And so once we did that, it's been a total game changer. And every year we go through and we reflect on all the things that either went well and things that that did go well. And so, yeah, I'd say once we got through that and we built that kind of annual plan, that really helped our marriage be strong. And then eventually when we had kids, incorporating the kids into that plan as well. I think if we didn't do that, we'd just be doing the same thing we did in the first year, just kind of flying by the seat of our pants. So that was a game changer for us.
Josh, you're speaking my language. We just did this same very thing. I don't know that we necessarily did it exactly like you described. I know many that do, as you're mentioning. They go to a hotel, the spouse, you stay together, you get a room, you put out a board and everything. I just did my vision board for the next year. It's an excellent experience. I love the vision board activity. I think it's so creative and visionary.
Yes.
So that's something that's very important to me. But as it relates to 2026, we're recording this here at the end of 2025. One of the things that's fascinating is I nearly have my entire year planned for 2026 as it relates to activities, vacations, just what are those things that are kind of the drop dead, this is what we're going to do. It's those birthdays and such that you mentioned.
Yeah.
And you just fill out your calendar and you start to put things down. We've got vacations planned for the new year. There's all these things that are scheduled. I literally have every weekend between now and March already filled. And I've got vacations through the summer months that are all filled. I've got activities in September, October, November. I've got my business trips that are already identified through the entire year. I literally have probably 90% of 2026 already calendared.
Love it.
That's just the way I work. It's the way I like it. It helps from a time blocking point of view, gives me some sense of security simply because my life has structure and I like structure and I'm a visual person. So I like to see it all visually laid out. So you're speaking my language. This is good stuff.
Me too. I love that. We call it like work-life integration, because otherwise, if you got everything planned out and it's there, then you're not going to miss the moments that matter most and everything's there. And then you work around that. I mean, it's same here. I'm a visual person, and having that all planned out, it makes me be able to think clearly and be present when I need to be, and then obviously drive in the business when needs to be as well. So total game changer. Yeah.
This is beautiful. All right. So here's what I'm going to do. Last question regarding your children. I don't know their ages right now, but what do you hope that they're learning from both you and your wife as you have this entrepreneurial drive, as you're out there working in the business world? What do you hope that they're learning as they're watching their parents do this?
My kids are 6 and 4 now. I mean, this is a selfish thing, and obviously the kids I'll support them in anything they want to do, but my hope is that they will join the family business one day. So the way that we kind of build it is in mind thinking, like, if they want to be part of it, we'll give them an opportunity to do that. And I mean, the one thing we do, even though they're only 6 and 4, we communicate with them about what's going on in the business. The different things that we do a lot of, giving to different organizations, and we do some volunteering as well for kids at risk and people on the homeless side in our city and different parts of the world. So a big thing for them is just showing them, leading by example, and explaining them too, like, mommy and daddy, we weren't born with money. We only had a couple $1,000s left after we invested anything into our business when we got married. And, they have a different life than we did when we were growing up. So just making sure that they realize that, being business owners and entrepreneurs, it's not easy, and it's a privilege, and it's something that it's a privilege to be able to build businesses and employ people, and if we are blessed enough to do well and make profit, we should use it for good and be able to give back as well. So those are things that we're thinking about as the kids are growing. But so far, they're very involved in the business. They ask a lot of good questions. They come to our events and Christmas parties, and so it looks like we got a couple mini entrepreneurs on the way. But whatever they end up doing, we'll support them.
I love it. That's beautiful. Well said. What are you grateful for, by the way?
I mean, I'm very grateful for my family. Through my 20s, I was just really focused on being successful, and I wanted to be an entrepreneur. My parents had some financial struggles growing up, so seeing that kind of lit a fire in me that I wanted to be a business owner, and I wanted to be able to help my parents and be there for my family. So during the 20s, it was all focused on growth and business. In my 30s, it's just been really focused on, being a good father, being a good husband, being present with my family. So I'm just really grateful for having a family and being able to have work-life integration and being able to build and scale, but not missing the moments that matter most.
Excellent. I love this. This is beautiful. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start wrapping a few things up here. I'm going to come back to you for a closing thought. For my listeners, one of the things that I'd like to do is have you take advantage of something that Josh is putting together. He put together a free scaling framework. This is the exact model he uses when buying, turning around, and scaling companies. So go to the episode description and you'll actually get the information you need there to learn what it is that you should be working on to build the premier accounting firm in your area, and also at the same time, take some of these principles to your clients as well. In addition to that, I also want to encourage you to take part in the Accountrepreneurs Challenge. The Accountrepreneurs Challenge is an activity. It's a 90-day challenge for you to work both on yourself personally and your business professionally to actually turn things around, and in doing so, build the premier accounting firm in your area. To do so, you need to be a great leader. And one of the things that we're going to focus on in there is things related to time management and so forth. But as we were just discussing a moment ago, I'll actually take you through the process of building your own vision board. And what that really can mean is you visualize what it is you're working towards. One of the things that I can attest to is each and every year I try to do a vision board for myself and my business. And coincidentally, I've got it right here next to me as I'm standing here, because we just did this with myself and my management team. And this is something that I'm doing with friends. I do it with some youth programs that I'm in. This is something I strongly believe in, and I encourage you to take advantage of the Accountrepreneurs Challenge, because one of the things you'll be doing is, in fact, your own vision board. As part of the Accountrepreneurs Challenge, you'll be given weekly activities. Some are as quick and easy as 5-10 minutes. Others might be an hour or more each and every week for you to be able to work on things personally and professionally. So sign up now for the Accountrepreneurs Challenge. Go to the episode description and you'll get the information you need to register for that today, and it is free. Now, that being said, one of the things I really appreciated about our conversation today is we started, first of all, with Josh's history and his starting the business, growing the business, selling the business. And one of the things I really appreciated him pointing out as part of that valuation, the struggle came when the accounting information was lacking, and he truly gained an appreciation for those financial things. One of the things that I think business owners sometimes neglect, they put aside, we see it all the time in accounting, they focus on that top line revenue, they do what they do best, and they're good at growing the business. Well, one of the things that's sometimes lacking is then the accounting, the compliance, doing the taxes and so forth. And so to help out there was very helpful. I really appreciated also his perspective as it related to stepping down from the business when he was talking about that transition, him stepping away from being a CEO and losing his identity for the most part. Who is he? What is he doing? And after 6 months, his wife coming in and saying, okay, you need that swift kick in the pants to get back out there into the world. I think that was very valuable. Yeah, that trip to Italy was wonderful, but at the end of the day, that's not who we are. And so I think that's one of the things that we will experience and realize, and something that he expressed some good perspective on. He spoke of, as he works with businesses, one of the things he focuses on is people, processes, and performance. I thought that was very insightful for us to recognize that as we're working on our business, whether it's our own companies, it's not just the client list. Whether it's our clients, it's not just what what they do. It is the people, it is the process, and it is the performance. And he spoke of key performance metrics, looking at those numbers on a regular basis and tracking what's going on with the company. So many important things as it relates to what we do as accounting professionals. As it relates to the business, one of the things that he also shared is that as he works on the business, there are a variety of things that he also focuses on, and that brought us to the idea of vision. Just getting clarity as to where we're truly going with this, whether it's ourselves or our clients. We don't just have glorified jobs. What we have is a business that we're building that can be a legacy that could and should outlast us. And that's one of the things that I think is a very important perspective to have as it relates to the companies we're building. Now, as I wrap this up, I do also want to express appreciation for his comment about gratitude. So many of us come from lack and we find ourselves in a position of abundance. And I think it's very important to always keep that perspective and be grateful for the things that we have and count those blessings that we've definitely been given. And so I think this is a perfect way to end our conversation. So Josh, with all that being said, what would you like to also leave as a final thought?
Yeah, I think final thought is, as founders, business is important. I feel like I'm a born entrepreneur. But like I realized in my 30s, the business can't come before the family. So as founders, I think it's really important to make sure that you do work-life integration and you make sure the family and the business is working well together. And I feel like if you put the right people, the right systems, the right processes, and you get out of the weeds and work on the business, then your family will be able to be part of that as well. So that's a big thing that I've been working on really hard the past 5 years. And it's been a game changer, not just for my business, but for my family.
I appreciate you ending on that note. Family first. I cannot emphasize that enough. Family first. No success can compensate for failure in the home. Keep that in mind. So with that being said, let's wrap this up. For my listeners, if you haven't already, subscribe. Love to have you subscribe to the podcast, have you come back each and every week to hear from the experts. We have great people on the show sharing with us insights and perspectives that we need to consider as we're building the premier accounting firm. And I'd love to have you back each and every week to hear what they have to say. With that also being said, I do want to mention that you can go to universalaccounting.com and in the navigation of the website, find the podcast section. There in the podcast, you'll actually find highlights. These are playlists that we've compiled of over the 300 episodes that we've had, basically taking those famous episodes related to marketing, selling, pricing, those various topics that you may be dealing with right now that you can go and listen to and really hone in on what you need to be paying attention to as it relates to your business today. So go to universalaccounting.com, go to the podcast section, and there go to the highlights. And there you'll find those playlists that are relevant to your needs and listen to what the experts are sharing with you as it relates to your business today, and do that. As it also relates to your services, I want to actually invite you to GrowCon. GrowCon is a conference for business owners of bookkeeping, accounting, and tax businesses, where we get together as peers to actually hear what the experts have to say as to what we need to be working on in our business from the stage. We also get to interact with one another as peers, interacting with those individuals that ultimately can be ones that we can collaborate with, but also build friendships with, because clearly they're doing exactly as we are. It's nice to be inspired by those who have gone before us and actually seen what they've been able to accomplish, and perhaps inspire others as we actually mentor them through the conversations that we have. Come to GrowCon. It's at GrowCon you're going to be inspired and actually be able to find the time to work on your business to build the premier accounting firm in your area. It's there also that you'll meet myself, my team, those individuals who are committed to helping you be in business for yourself, but not by yourself with Universal Accounting. And I encourage you to register now. Go to universalaccounting.com, and there in the site navigation, you'll find GrowCon. There's all the details, the information you need. Get your ticket today, and I look forward to seeing you there. Also, in addition to all of this, I again want to emphasize signing up for the Accountrepreneurs Challenge. It's a challenge, a 90-day challenge that will actually help you personally and professionally. I invite you to take advantage of that. For more information about this and more things related to getting the skills, the training, and the ability to offer quality accounting services, check out Universal Accounting School, where Universal Accounting lists the various courses and programs that we offer for you and your staff. There you can go and find what courses are available to you to become professional bookkeepers, professional tax preparers, and profit and growth experts. All this being said, I do invite you to give us a phone call if you'd like. You can reach us at 801-265-3777. And always remember this: accounting success is universal. Take care, have a great day, and be safe out there.